All right. So you landed an interview for that ICT Help Desk Manager position.
Congrats. And I bet you already know this isn't going to be only about,
Fixing printers and stuff, right? We're talking leading a team
keeping everyone connected.
and probably working with some seriously cool tech.
Before we get ahead of ourselves, though,
Let's talk about how to totally rock that interview.
that's what we're here for.
It's awesome you've got the tech skills,
But showing them you can lead,
how you solve problems.
that's what really wows them.
I love it. No more boring advice. Let's get practical.
I've got all our RoleCatcher info right here. Career guides, the interview tips.
You're the expert to help make sense of it all.
Exactly. Think of me as your interview coach.
We'll break down those typical questions.
But more importantly, what's the interviewer really trying to figure out about you?
We'll give you a game plan so your answers stand out. Ready to dive in.
I was born ready. Let's jump right in with a classic. Can you describe your experience managing an ICT help desk team?
Sounds simple.
But something about it feels like a trap.
Good instinct. It's easy to just start listing off old jobs.
What you did?
Remember, at this level, they want more. How did you lead? How do you motivate a team?
What about when things go wrong? They want to know how you handle that.
So how should someone answer this then? Memorize something perfect.
No way. You'll sound like a robot.
Instead, think about times you showed leadership.
Even if you weren't officially the manager.
Maybe you mentored someone new, took on a tough project, or got creative when everything crashed.
Those in-the-trenches stories.
Way more interesting than just, like, a resume.
Exactly.
So instead of I managed 5 people, it's more like we had this huge server outage, and I...
Perfect. And remember, STAR, situation, task, action, result.
It helps you sound clear, even when nervous.
Call me about it. Interviews are nerve-wracking.
Speaking of which, how do you stay up to date with the latest ICP trends and technologies?
I could just say I read tech blogs, but they've probably heard that a million times, right?
Yeah, too vague for what they're looking for.
This job changes constantly, so you gotta prove you're not just keeping up, but ahead of the game.
The career guide mentions conferences, online courses, ringing any bells.
Oh, totally. I went to this virtual AI conference.
All about how it's gonna, like, automate help desks.
Which, by the way, the career guide says is blowing up right now.
It's amazing what AI can do for those routine tasks. Frees us humans up for the complicated stuff.
There you go. That's what I mean.
You're on top of AI, which is huge, and you've tied it right back to the job.
Shows you're thinking long-term, not just day-to-day.
I like the sound of that.
And here's what's even cooler.
RoleCatcher lets you plug in a job description, and their AI tailors your answers.
So you're highlighting the right T skills. Game changer.
No more guessing games. Companies want different things.
RoleCatcher helps you speak their language, which is huge EE.
Makes sense.
Ready for another one?
Hit me.
Okay. Can you give an example of a time you had to resolve a complex technical issue for a client? What comes to mind?
Oh, man.
So many late nights staring at a computer, like...
Did I break the internet again?
Really?
They're not just asking if you can, like, Google how to fix things.
Right. They want to see your process, how you think when it's technical, how you stay calm.
Think about a time you had to get really creative to solve something.
Oh!
And they said client, too, not just computer.
Exactly. This job is about people skills as much as tech skills.
So even if you wrote some amazing code to fix it.
How'd you explain that to the client so they understood? Empathy is huge here.
So true. Because they are not having a good day if they had to call us.
Okay, this next one is classic.
How do you prioritize and manage multiple help desk tickets simultaneously?
That inbox is always on fire.
Isn't it, though? This is them seeing if you're organized, if you can prioritize.
Can you stay focused when it's crazy busy? Because it will be.
For sure. The career guide even mentions that, like how fast-paced it is.
So how do you prove you can handle the heat?
Talk systems. Do you use a ticketing system, a way to prioritize?
Maybe you've got a method for deadlines, for knowing when to escalate things.
Be clear, concise, show them you're on top of it.
If you've used industry standard stuff, this is the time to name drop.
Yes. Shows you're already thinking practically.
Those details matter.
Speaking of which...
Did you know RoleCatcher lets you save your favorite questions and answers?
Like your own little interview prep file?
So smart. Who can remember everything when you're nervous?
And they have that AI feedback, right?
Practice out loud. It analyzes how you're doing, even your tone.
Like having a coach right there.
Okay, ready for more.
Always.
Let's talk conflict. How do you handle difficult clients or team members?
Some people dread this question, but it's so real.
The career guide even said dealing with tough customers can be a downside.
It's not always sunshine and roses in tech support, that's for sure.
But they're not asking if you've never had conflict. They want to see your EQ.
Can you navigate tricky people situations professionally?
Okay, so how do you answer that, especially if you're not, like, confrontational?
Empathy, empathy, empathy.
And active listening. Show them you hear people out before reacting.
Don't ever say, I'd tell them to calm down.
Oh, no, never that.
Way better to say, first I'd make sure I understood their side, their concern.
Exactly. Calmer already, right.
Shows you're thinking clearly.
That reminds me that the guide also said something about customer service guidelines.
Maybe you could talk about training your team on those.
Or a time you had to, like, help a client understand why a policy existed.
I love how you tied that back. It's practical, it shows leadership.
You're not just handling conflict, you're building a good environment because of it.
Yes. Okay, switching gears a bit. How do you ensure that your team provides excellent customer service to clients?
Seems obvious, but there's got to be more to it than that.
You're right. It's way more than just saying, be nice.
It's about building a customer-first culture. Everyone's on the same page.
So it's like preventing the fires instead of just putting them out.
Love that. Think about specific things you've done to create that mindset.
Maybe a new feedback system or a reward program for going above and beyond.
Good point. Shows you're proactive, not just hoping for the best.
And it ties back to data, which we talked about earlier.
You're making decisions based on real info.
Which, by the way, the career guide is all about monitoring and customer satisfaction.
You got it. You're showing them you get what this role really needs.
I think so, too. Okay, ready for a question that sounds scarier than it is.
Hit me with it.
All right. Can you describe your experience with ITEL or other IT service management frameworks?
We mentioned ITEL, but maybe we should explain it.
Good call. Not everyone knows the jargon.
So basically, ITEL is like the rule book for how to manage IT stuff well.
Exactly. Keeps things running smoothly. Aligns with what the business actually needs.
So it's the playbook.
Exactly.
Even if you haven't used ITIL itself, you can talk about similar things.
Highlight those key ideas. Incident response, change management, problem solving.
Have you done those things well?
And if you have those certifications, like the ITIL Foundation one the guy mentioned,
Definitely say so. Shows you're serious about your career.
and that you're up to date, which matters a lot in tech.
Speaking of which, there was that other question.
How do you ensure that help desk technicians are properly trained and equipped to handle technical issues?
The million-dollar question.
Right. The team is only as good as its weakest link and all that.
This one's about building people UP, giving them what they need to thrive.
Okay, so how do you show you're that kind of boss?
Talk actions. Mentoring programs, training sessions you ran.
Did you encourage people to get certified?
Again, career guide to the rescue. It lists tons of certifications, CompTIA, Microsoft Azure, all that.
Mentioning those shows you know what's what in the industry.
And that you're invested in your team's growth. Who wouldn't want a boss like that?
For real.
Yeah.
You know what else is handy? RoleCatcher's AI skills analysis thing.
It looks at what you know, then suggests certifications that could boost your own career.
It's like a cheat code for leveling up.
Ready for one last question?
Lay it on me.
This one seems simple. How do you measure the success of your help desk team?
But it's not just about closing tickets the fastest, right?
You got it. This is where you get to geek out on data a little.
Show them you understand KPIs, key performance indicators.
Gotta love a good acronym.
But seriously, what kind of KPIs are we talking here?
Things like how often you solve it on the first call.
Average time to fix stuff? Customer satisfaction scores?
That tells the real story.
So it's about working smart, not just hard, using that data to improve.
Exactly. And that's what your answer should show.
Maybe you found a bottleneck because of the data, or changed a strategy based on feedback.
Shows you're actually using the info, not just collecting it.
And it links right back to the Career Guide Customer Focused Monitoring Service.
You're on fire today.
Okay, before we get to our final thoughts, any other RoleCatcher tips for our listeners?
We've covered a ton, but nothing beats practice. Use RoleCatcher to rehearse.
Get that feedback, polish your delivery.
You've got this.
I love it. Okay, with that said, let's switch gears a bit and talk about you, the candidate. We've talked a lot about acing that interview.
But now I'm curious.
What are you hoping for? Long-term in this job, what's success look like to you?
Such a good question. And not just for the interview, even for yourself.
Think of it this way. What kind of ICT Help Desk Manager do you want to be?
What kind of mark do you want to leave on your team, on your company?
I love that. It's not just about getting hired, it's about the right fit.
Some people, they're driven by building amazing teams.
Others, they want to make things better for customers, come up with new solutions.
Exactly. Those aren't just nice to haves, those are your strengths.
Don't be afraid to say that in the interview.
Shows you're serious, that you're there for a reason.
And speaking of which, back to the career guide for a sec.
It actually has some cool insights about where this job can lead.
Did you know a lot of ICT Help Desk Managers, they become?
IT project managers, directors, even chief information officers.
It's a stepping stone. All those skills you're building, they applied higher up too.
The leadership, the problem solving, staying cool under pressure.
Those are goldy in any job, but especially in tech. And if you're thinking, whoa, too many choices now, that's where RoleCatcher comes in.
They had that career compass thing, remember. Tell it what you like.
It'll suggest jobs, even specific openings, like having a career counselor on your phone.
It's amazing for this kind of stuff because things change so fast these days.
So as you're getting ready for this interview,
Think big picture too. Where do you want to be?
love that.
Well, on that note, we're about wrapped up here.
Our deep dive into what it takes to be an ICT Help Desk Manager.
Hopefully you got some good tips, feel more prepared, even excited.
But remember, preparation is key. Why? Use those RoleCatcher tools. Practice, practice, practice.
And walk in there confident. You got this.
You heard the expert. We're rooting for you. Until next time, happy job hunting, everyone.